All right, I am back for another Friday tea time. um, yeah, I tried to think about an embarrassing story. I'm still working on it. I feel like I have one, but I need to think about it some more. But anyway, this week's tea time is going to be very short and sweet. I actually only have one question because I thought it was a really good question, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to answer the question, but yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. It's something that is probably number 2 behind the question that I get a lot, in terms of number 1 being, are we drug tested? How often are we drug tested? That big question. Then number 2, how much money do we make? Which I personally think is kind of a rude question. I don't really think it's okay to ask people how much they make, but I think it's a fair question in the way this person, who Stephen Jones from YouTube, asked the question, which, let me just go ahead and get right into it. He asked, how much would you say it costs to be a world-class athlete? And I say this is a fair question because I think that we're kind of thrust into the world of professionalism, track professionalism, without kind of knowing, a lot of what's expected and a lot of what comes with it. And the biggest thing that you learn almost right away, especially coming out of college, where I can really only speak from my experience. I was a full scholarship athlete, so pretty much everything was taken care of. You don't really realize how expensive it is to be an athlete. So in our sport, we are not a member of a team, or yes, we are a member of Team USA and before, or your country, Canada, Jamaica, Trinidad, Great Britain, wherever. And again, I'm only going to speak from my experience because I'm only one person. But, Team USA does have some sort of stipend that you can get at the end of the year, or even some funding that you can apply for. But it's only available for a select few people. You have to apply for it and you have to meet the criteria. So I'm going to just go ahead, and I wrote down a couple of notes. I'm not going to give you an exact number because it's hard to give you an exact number, but I will estimate what some of these things are. So first and foremost, your training. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you have to pay your coach, and more than likely you have more than one coach. I myself, I have a track coach and I have a strength coach, and then I guess I also have a consultant. So and I have to pay all 3 of those guys, and it varies. You may have a relationship. I've heard where some coaches will work with their athlete because they just know that their athlete simply can't afford it, whether it be they just don't have funding or whatever the case may be. Your track coach, I'm going to give you roundabout numbers for everything. I've seen anything from $10,000 a year to $25,000 a year, and some coaches even ask for bonuses. So depending on how you rank at the end of the year, if you medal, they expect a bonus at the end of the year. That's all personal and, depends on the agreement that you have with your coach, but it's quite possible. I have also heard of some coaches asking for a percentage of your earnings, but I think that's not standard. It's usually a set fee that you and your coach work out. And then likewise, you'll pay your strength coach. That's another $5,000 to $10,000 a year. I don't really see strength coaches asking for bonuses, but anything's possible. Don't rule it out. So yeah, that covers training costs. It gets pretty expensive. The next thing, your agent, who ultimately, just to kind of make it easy, is entitled to 15 to 20% of any of your earnings that they negotiate. So, and this is just track and field. I know other sports, like I've heard the NFL is like no more than 3 or 2%, but you're talking about $1 million contracts. We don't make that kind of money. But again, 15 to 20% of anything they earn. So that's your earnings on the track, whether it be your appearance fees and your salary if you have an endorsement deal, or any other smaller endorsements that they may have negotiated. Any type of income that they've negotiated for you, they're entitled to a percentage. Moving on to physio. As you can imagine, we're putting our bodies through things every day that we just weren't built to do. So there's going to be nicks and knacks here. I estimated that anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. And you know, if you're blessed enough to have insurance, a lot of that can be taken care of by insurance. But if you're not, you have to pay that out of pocket. And you know, if you have some sort of injury that, you know, requires surgery, expensive. Extensive rehab, expensive. You've got to pay your doctor, you've got to pay your PT. You have to pay for all of that. So again, some of these areas, you know, your federation may help pick up in some areas where they may have grants or they may have some extra funding for you, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for those bills. Travel. This one I kind of broke up into two parts because there are some meets that we travel to that aren't funded, and by that I mean, or I'm specifically talking about a meet like Texas Relays or Florida Relays. I feel like those would be the meets that you guys would know off top. But if I were to travel to one of those meets, like, I am paying for my flight, my hotel, my entry fee, all of it. If my coach is coming with me, I'm paying for him. Yeah. So, and some of those meets, let me take that back. Some of those meets, USA Track and Field may help out with like a flight or a hotel, depending on, yeah, like if you're a part of the relay program, let me say that. If you're a part of the relay program, i.e. they know you're going to be, or they have a good idea that you may be in the pool at the end of the summer for the World Championships, naturally they want you to practice the relay before the World Championships or the Olympics. So they'll put together or send out an invitation, and in that case, they'll help you. But if not, you're expected to pay for that on your own. Funded meets, i.e. Diamond League or World Challenge meets, typically those meets will pay for your travel, they'll pay for your hotel. But if some athletes get to travel business class, if you decide to upgrade your ticket, that's on you. If you're not an athlete who gets your own room, like I talked about in a previous video with Felicia, if I request a single room, then sometimes the meet promoter will require me to pay the difference for that room. So say I was supposed to be in a double room, but I wanted my own room, I would have to pay whatever the difference is from the double up to the single. Oh, and if my coach comes with me to the meet, I have to pay for him to be there as well. And then, you know, with coach being there, I have to pay for his flight, hotel, meals. Now, in most cases, if my coach is traveling with me, I am blessed enough that I train in a group, so we usually split the bill, thank God, because it can get expensive, as you can imagine, especially when we travel as much as we do. And my coach doesn't go everywhere with me. He mainly comes to the big ones, i.e. World Championships, the Olympics, a couple of Diamond Leagues. But, you know, it's still pretty expensive. It still racks up. So then I wrote down miscellaneous, which this is the stuff that honestly, as a college athlete, even as a high school athlete, when you're not spending your own money, mom and dad's buying it, you don't really realize how expensive this stuff is. And that's everything from sweats, spikes, trainers, tank tops, sports bras. That stuff is expensive, guys. And it can rack up. And if you don't have a sponsorship deal, again, you need equipment to train, you need equipment to compete, and it can be pretty expensive. So I didn't even put a price next to it because I don't even want to guesstimate, because it can get pretty pricey. But yeah, so looking at this, I didn't do a tally on this piece of paper, but I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, you can rack up anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000, and that's, I'm like being nice, in terms of what it costs to be a world-class athlete. And yeah, it's tough. Sometimes, you know, it feels like, or you look at some of your prize money, or you look at, you know, what you feel like you're supposed to be earning, or you are earning, and then you turn around and look at how much you have to pay out to support and sustain your career. It's a tough one to swallow, but I mean, you know, I'm blessed. I'm by no means, I don't want this video to sound like I'm complaining. This is a question that I'm answering. It's the honest truth. You know, while I think our sport has a ways to go in terms of athletes being compensated and being compensated justly, you know, I am one of the athletes that's blessed to do this full time. But yeah, it's expensive, and I hope I answered your question. Again, I've created a playlist, so I more than likely have answered some of your questions. So go ahead and look at those old videos if you like. Leave any further questions down below. I hope I answered that question justly. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna turn the camera off and remember something, but those are the important things. So anyway, tune in next Friday for another Tea Time. And the season is about to kick off. My first race is Texas Relays. I'm gonna update my calendar so you guys can see what meets I'll be competing in. I'm very excited for the season to get going and to answer more of your questions. So come along for the ride. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.